Hi everyone, welcome back to our Daily Clues by Sam. Happy Saturday. I know I'm publishing this way later than I usually do today, but you gotta excuse me because I went hiking again. It is very cold here, but it was a beautiful day and I just got back right now and we're gonna play this hard puzzle. So if you're new here, Clues by Sam is a daily puzzle where there are 20 people on a board and each of them is either a criminal or an innocent, and you gotta figure out what they are using the clues that they give you. There is no people lying, there's no guessing involved. And if you want to play along, the link is in the description. But I want to also say that I have a puzzle for you that I made from the custom games that you can make yourself. Some people can create their own games now, and one of those lucky I'm one of those lucky ones. So I made a puzzle for you guys. I'm gonna leave the link in the description as well. You can play it, and please leave me your feedback, how hard you thought it was, because I try to make it pretty hard. I don't know. I feel like the hardest ones are the ones that are more fun, and I can talk more about how I made it later. I want you guys' feedback on it if you want to leave it for me. And we're gonna start today's puzzle right now. So let's start with Umar telling us that Martin is one of two criminals above Zed. Okay, so Martin is a criminal. There's a second one above Zed, and there's two more people who could be a criminal, so we know that only one of them is going to be the last criminal above Zed, so we tag them as such with the yellow tag, and we click on Umar's clue because we don't need it anymore. Now, Martin says that each column has at least 3 innocents, and we know that column D so far has 3 innocents. There's Umar and a second one here above Zed. So Zed has to be one of the 3 innocents, so we can have a total of 3. And Martin's clue says that each column, so we're going to leave that there to remind us for the other columns. Zed now says that all innocents in column A are connected. So there has to be at least 3 innocents in column A, right? And we know that the possible groups for column A would be Jason, Frida, Akira, Frida, Jason, and Olivia, or Jason, Olivia, and Vicky, right? Of the people who are connected. So Jason has to be in all of the groups possible of at least 3 people. So Jason is an innocent. Now Jason says that column D is the only column with exactly 3 innocents. So we know there has to be 4 innocents at least in column A. How does that work for us? If we know that Olivia and Frida both have to be part of that group of 4, then both of them have to be innocent, right? We just don't know if either Akira or Vicky or both of them are innocents. Now, Frida says that only one row has no criminals, so we're gonna keep that in mind. And Jason says that column D, oh yeah, column D is the only column with 3 innocents, so we're gonna leave that there. Olivia says that only one of the 3 criminals neighboring Lila is in column C, so where's Lila? Lila is in column C, and she has 2 people neighboring her in that same column. Only one of them is gonna be a criminal, so we tag them like that. And we know that there's 3 criminals total neighboring her. One of them is Martin, right? She couldn't have, or could she, have 2 criminals neighboring her here in column B? I mean, she could, because there will be people left to make 3 innocents in column B. But we know also that if there was 2 criminals here and 3 people left in column B were innocents, which there needs to be at least 3 in that column, we would have a second column besides column D with 3 innocents, which can't happen according to Jason. So no, Lila doesn't have 2 criminals neighboring her in column B. She must have at most 1. Which makes Isaac one of the criminals neighboring her, right? Because Martin is 1, the second one is for sure gonna be in column C, and there couldn't be 2 in column C. There could be at most 1 in column B, so Isaac has to be the third. Am I counting this correctly? I'm not. There's 3 criminals neighboring Lila, and I'm counting 4. Thank you if you told me before I clicked something wrong here. So one person in column B could be a criminal neighboring Lila. How do we work that out then? Only one row has no criminals. How does that work for me? Because we know that row 3 has a criminal already, so it couldn't be that row. All criminals in column A are connected. All innocents in column A are connected, not criminals. Column D is the only column with exactly 3 innocents. I mean, Lila could have Isaac be a criminal and neighbor her, and then she would have all innocents in column B. That would work. But only one row has no criminals. It has to do with that, for sure. Like, let's say that Gus, Helen, and Isaac, oh, they can't all be criminals. Because that's too many criminals for Lila. They can't all be innocents, can they? If they are, then either Kieran or Kita would have to be a criminal, which is fine. But now we have row 2 with no criminals. Which means row 5 we need a criminal. And all of the others already have one. So, is it about row 5? Let's look at column C because we know that there's one innocent here in column C and we need at least 2 more to make a total of to make a total of 3. How does that work for me? Can I make Isaac an innocent neighboring Lila? And if I do, I'm sorry, can I make Isaac a criminal neighboring Lila? And if I do, then everybody here in column B neighboring her would be an innocent, which is fine. But now if Helen is an innocent, Rose would be a criminal, which is good for us because we have no columns here with no criminals. If Helen is a criminal, though, that makes Rose an innocent, and now we have row 4 with no criminals, which makes no other row able to not have. But I don't think there's enough information. This is hard. We would still need 2 instances in column C. Do we know something about rows? We would need at least 1 more instant in column B and 2 instances in column C. And if maybe I should look at Lila. Because if Lila, let me get rid of the lower tags. If Lila is a criminal, she makes both Sia and Donald innocents because column C needs 2 innocents to make 3 with either Rose or Helen. But now we have column C with also 3 criminals. 3 innocents, sorry. And we know that column D is the only one with 3 innocents. So that would break. But does that make Lila an innocent? Because if she is an innocent, then either Donald or Sia would have to be. Yeah, I think all of them are innocents actually. Because if either of the other ones are a criminal, then the column would end up with 3 innocents, which it can't. But it can't have less than 3, so it has to have 4. So everybody is an innocent here. Do we get a new clue? We do. There's an odd number of innocents above Wanda. Okay. So there may have 3 innocents. There may be 3 innocents above Wanda. That would work. Could it be less than 3? Could it be only 1? If it was only 1, first of all, it will break Lila. So no. So there has to be 3, which means there's only 1 criminal. And that criminal could be Carl, but if we know that there's 3 innocents above Wanda, and we know that column B couldn't be left with 3 because column D is the only one with 3, that makes Wanda an innocent as well. Now when Wanda says that 3 innocents in row 5 have an innocent directly to the right of them. So there's already 3 innocents in row 5, but only 2 of them have innocents to their right because Zed doesn't have anybody to his right. So Sia and Wanda both have innocents to their right. So we need 1 more innocent to have an innocent to their right, which has to be Vicky. And now we know that row 5 is the only one with all innocents. So we know that row 4 couldn't be left with all innocents. Neither could row 1. So, don't need that school anymore. If we know that Lila can only have 1 more criminal, could Isaac be the criminal now that we have a lot more people giving us information? If that happens, then everybody here in column B is an innocent. And we know that above Wanda there has to be 1 criminal, so that's Carl. Now, row 1 already has a criminal, so that's perfect for us. But that will make rows have to be a criminal, so that row 4 doesn't end up with only innocents. Should we look at Kieran ever being a criminal? And why do I say that? If she's a criminal, we have a row with 2 criminals and all of Lila's criminal neighbors are already done. So Isaac would be an innocent, Gus and Kita would be innocents. And then row 1 would have its criminal here. Which would mean that row 4 still needs Rose to be a criminal. Can Rose ever be an innocent? And if she is, Kita has to be a criminal so that row 4 doesn't end up with only innocents. Sorry. And in that case, Kita is the last criminal neighbor for Lila, so Isaac would be an innocent. Everybody else would be an innocent as well for Lila. Which would make Irving a criminal, so row 1 would end up with 1 criminal neighbor. So it does work with Rose being innocent. Does it work with Gus being a criminal? If Gus is a criminal, then everybody else here in column B is an innocent. Rose has to be a criminal so that row 4 has a criminal. And Isaac is an innocent because Lila's 3 criminals are here. So it does work with Gus being a criminal. Who can't be what? We tried Kieran, tried Kita, we tried Rose, and we tried Gus. Have we tried making Isaac a criminal again? Because if he is a criminal, Then it's B, all green here, and Carl criminal. And we could make Rose a criminal. So it does work. What am I missing? What am I missing? Did I already solve it? You guys saw it and I am not seeing it. There's an odd number of instances above Wanda. We know that's 3. And only one row has no criminals at all. Only one of the 3 criminals neighboring Lila is in column C. So she needs a 3rd one. Let me clear the lower text again. Can I make both Helen and Isaac criminals? If both, because let me try to rule them out as same. So if both of them are criminals, I already know that this is not gonna work because row 4 is gonna end up with all innocents. And if both of them are innocents, then row 2 ends up with all innocents. So it doesn't work with them being the same. So they have to be opposites. That's good. We found something out. We found that row 2 has one innocent, one criminal here. We also know that we can't have both Kita and Rose being the same because if both of them are innocents, then row 4 is all innocents, and if both of them are criminals, row 2 is all innocents. Right? Is this math that I have to do? And I'm just not getting it. So if we ignore column C now, we know that all of Lila's criminal neighbors are Martin, one of the ones in row 2 and another one in row 4. So our total is done, which makes both Kieran and Gus innocents because they don't need to be criminals. I got a yellow. Am I not? Is this not? How am I wrong here? I guess I'm wrong if one of the scenarios I said. I'm not really convinced of that. I'm not really convinced of that, Sam. But if you know why Gus in this exact moment, I don't know how long this is in the video, but why couldn't Gus be an instant right now? Tell it to me in the comments, please. So Kieran now says there are more instances in column A than column C, and we know how many are in column C. There's 4, right? There couldn't be 3. There's already 3, and there's gonna be 1 more. So column A has to have 5. So Akira has to be an instant. Now Akira says that 2 people on the edges have a criminal directly to the right of them. So far, nobody in column D, of course, could have anybody to their right be anything. Row 5 doesn't have anybody B being a criminal to their right. And in row 1, there's for sure gonna be 1 criminal to the right of somebody. And there could only be 1 because there's 2 people only on the edges who have a criminal to their right. So we know that Carl and Irving are opposites. And now we know that both Kita and Gus are not, because they will be criminals, are not criminals. Both Kita and Gus are not criminals because they both would be to the right of somebody who is on the edge. So they have to be innocent. Martin is not somebody who is a criminal to the right of somebody. We know now that Gus and Kita have to be up. I'm playing so bad. Okay. Step back, step back. So we know that I was considering Martin as somebody who is a criminal to somebody on the edge, but he is a criminal on the edge. So he's not counting. But either Carl or Irwin are gonna be one criminal to the right of somebody. And the second criminal has to either be Gus or Kita. No, they can't. Oh, they can, they can. What does that make Carl? The thing is that, and why do I know that both Carl and Irwin are not same? So let's just test that. Because if both of them are criminals here, then both Isaac, Gus, Kita would have to be innocents. My lamp went off. And now there's no way that we can have both row 2 and row 4 have a criminal, because Helen and Rose are opposites, right? And we of course can't have Carl and Irwin both be innocents, because row 1 would end up with all innocents. So they are opposites for sure. This is the way to prove it, which makes Gus and Kita opposites as well, so that we have a second person who is a criminal to the right of somebody on the edge. And now Lila has Helen and Rose as one of her criminals, and Gus and Kita as another one of her criminals, which makes her total 3. So Isaac is an innocent, which makes Irwin a criminal, which makes Carl an innocent. And now we get a new clue from Irwin saying that there are exactly 2 innocents above Kita. So the 2 of them are Kita and Carl, so Gus, the third person above Kita, has to be a criminal, which makes Kita an innocent. Kita was opposites with Rose, so Rose is a criminal, which makes Helen an innocent. I played bad. Only 1 yellow? Did I get both yellows on the same person? That would be so fun. I can trick you into thinking I got only 1 yellow if I post this. But you saw the video. Okay, I'm sorry about that. I did like the game. I had a lot of trouble there in the beginning, but I hope I could explain the logic well enough that you got it when I got it as well. And let me know what was wrong there with Gus not being able to be an innocent. Oh, it was the same person. It was Gus both times. Interesting. So if you caught my mistakes there, let me know. Play my puzzle. Give me feedback. You can say it was terrible. There's no worries. I'm not expecting anything. I just had fun making it, and I plan to do more in the future. And also I have, now that I played a little bit with the whole maker thing, I have feedback for Sam themselves, so I can send them that, and hopefully we can get it even better. And I'll leave you here for now. See you tomorrow for more Clues by Sam. Bye bye.